When there's what I might call just a vasana or fixation, something that's so deeply rooted in you that just addressing one thought at a time is like, you just feel like it's a drop in the ocean. Like, you can do it, but it just keeps coming back. When you feel that, it's really helpful to go after specific beliefs around this. There are things like, I need validation from people. I have a deep fear of humiliation. Humiliation would be the end for me, right? Whatever. What you can look at this a lot of different ways, but finding those specific fears and then working very directly with that actual fear, that actual belief. And there are a lot of ways to do it. One way I like and I recommend a lot is Byron Katie has like an app, and on the app she has a thing where you can plug a belief into it, and then it goes through all these things like reversing it, coming up with evidence for the contrary. What does it mean to me? What would it be like to let go of this? But the thing with that is you take one belief and you dig so deep with it that you really start uprooting beliefs that are related to it. And then you can find one belief that's related and just keep at it. It's uncomfortable work. It's wonky. It's weird. It twists your mind up because it makes you see different perspectives that you're fixed in this perspective, but to see the complete opposite perspective sort of balances out and it unties those beliefs sometimes. And it can be really helpful. So that kind of thing is good for these types of beliefs, but really trace down, spend some time to find what is the real triggering belief. If I walk into this situation unrehearsed, what will happen, right? Well, my belief is that if I walk into this situation completely unrehearsed, I will be humiliated. That's the belief. So work on that belief directly. Like, go just dig into it in any way you can. Look at the associated emotions, the images in the mind, the memories, and then turn it around and try to, find contrary evidence for it. All those things. Another thing I would tell you that's a more simple and more timely approach is when you start imagining your conversations with people. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're anticipating and you're trying to make sure that you're in control of what that person thinks of you. And there's a part of our brain, the default mode network has a brain center whose job it is. It's a subnetwork, but a set of brain centers whose job it is to imagine how we look to other people, and then use that information and plug it into our communication and how we act and so forth. So it's not like some weird thing that only you do. It's something that everyone does to some degree or another. And that is, we actually imagine how we come across to others. We anticipate, we try to make ourselves appear a certain way. A really, really good way to go about this is to approach it from unconditional love. Anytime I approach anything from unconditional love, I find that it works really well. But sometimes it takes some work to change our tendency. So one thing you can do when the thoughts come of, okay, I've got to prepare for this conversation, is to tell yourself, what that person thinks of me is their business. It's not my business. I give this person full right to believe anything they want to believe about me, and I'm not going to try to control it at all. That's the gift I'm giving them. Whoever it is, the closest person to you, or someone you barely know at work. But it's the kind of thing you have to do repetitively. It's not my business what they think of me. It's my business how I treat people. What we're doing here is you're sort of just retraining different mindsets. The next mindset is, again, it's something you can do throughout the day, especially when the mind starts to ruminate. You can start to reorient what you're actually noticing about everything. And you can start to notice something you appreciate about people. It has to be authentic, though. It can't be people pleasing, any of that. It has to be like genuinely authentic. Like if I look at you and I say, I like the way you dress or something like that. Even if you don't say it to people, just walking through environments when the mind starts to get up there about whatever, just start looking at people and just going, well, if I were to walk up to that person and just give them an honest and sincere, compliment or appreciation, what would I say? Having that mindset of appreciation and actually looking for what you love about people does retrain your mind, actually. And you may or may not actually say it, but if you do say it, it's even more powerful. And you may not be able to say it in all situations, but it really reorients the way you perceive people. Whatever situation it is will compel itself, but teaching yourself to notice that, instead of trying to be 3 steps ahead of yourself in your mind and imagination, imagining something that's not happening, the conversation that's not happening, what you're actually imagining is the conversation that's happened a million times before. So you'll recreate the conversation where you have to defend yourself and you have to people please. That's how you keep the vasanas going. Whereas if you put your attention in the environment right now, which is always changing, I never know who I'm going to bump into next. So the next person I bump into, I'm going to give myself the challenge of, wow, how could I actually give that person an honest appreciation? Brings you into the present, brings you into a movement of love, and it gives you an opportunity to actually interact with somebody in a totally different way if you choose to be able to look at the person who triggers you the most and still find something you truly appreciate and love about them. That's an act of compassion. It's an act of unconditional love, and it will retrain your mind.